Hello, hi, I am Skorsen and welcome to SK Learns. This is a series in which I kind of just go over some of the stuff that I'm currently learning and trying to practice, so it's not from a professional standpoint, it's just from a self-taught standpoint, so take the information however you want it. These aren't necessarily tutorials, they're just stuff that I'm working on and I find important and I want to make videos about it and practice my video editing skills. And try to train that for a bit. So in any case, after doing the Serial Experiments Lane Effects video and then going on to trying to make a recreated version of the Copeland OS boot up, wanted to do something a little bit more. And what I ended up doing was working on me trying to recreate the PS1 Serial Experiments Lane game and keep it in that vein of that multimedia project, but instead adapt onto that similar on how I've been doing projects that involve that from the anime, and instead take reference from the game. What I decided to work on was the recreation of the video player, and that you can see here, kind of playing a small section, and what I wanted to do was go over that and kind of show how I decided to try to recreate that as an actual movable file to other places, and so I could use for videos if I really wanted to, which I probably won't, but yeah, it's kind of cool. It's just kind of a cool project, and it's unique enough, but using the similar techniques that you can see through tons of tutorials, it's just a little bit more decorated, which I think is kind of cool, and I wish I saw a little bit more of, because you get a lot of these basic tutorials, and it would always be fun to see a little bit more decorated and artsy, really heavily artsy kind of effects and recreations, which I'd like to see. So, in any case, this is the effect tree, as you can see here. And basically, first, we're going to go over the video player, and that is pretty much just made out of polygons and backgrounds. Really honestly, if you've seen my video on Serial Experiments Lane Effects, that pretty much explains that most of the stuff that you're going to ever be doing, especially if you're trying to make the file in Fusion, mostly background and polygons are your friends, regardless of anything else. They are your friends. They may be annoying, but they're your friends. So, using these polygons and backgrounds, I basically just kind of traced out a shape that worked, and this is actually based off of artwork recreation that I wanted to originally use. I wanted to try to practice using the loader node, but if you know about the loader node, I could not get it to work, and also it just didn't fit the reasoning for why I would need to use it, because I could just build it in Fusion. It's fine, and honestly, it's way more sleek looking, but it's just one of those things that gave me more of a hassle than it was worth, so I decided just to recreate it in Fusion so I don't have to deal with it. And that's why I've actively just decided, unless if you're selling this, which I don't think you can, granted that it still reaches within copyright. I don't think you can sell this. You can't sell the recreations and stuff because it's still copyrighted property. And I've looked up on some of the copyright stuff, and you really only get like leeway if you're in Japan to like 2028 or so. So it's not dependent on if you're in the States. So I don't have that ability. I don't have immunity here. But in any case, this is just a fun project, so I don't really have to worry about that, at least not that I think of. In any case, let's get back on the topic and actually start focusing on how I did this. As I said, I was using pictures and reference. I will show up the artwork recreation versions. I made 2 of them, and those pretty much were very useful for me to look at after I realized that it wouldn't work using the loader nodes and all that stuff, so I decided to use those as reference. And those worked really well, and I liked how it turned out. And once I went into this, it really did start building up. And if you look at the older versions and the original, so I'll pop that up in the corner, the original, these are the original colors. Literally copy color picked right from it. Doesn't matter. But wanted to be accurate colors, but in the end, it slowly morphed. And overall, I like the colors that ended up happening. But overall, just copied the shapes and all that stuff and kind of got it all set up. Added an edge detect and made that have, I think, yeah, just an edge detect, kind of made the settings a little bit more glowy-esque and have brightness to it. And that kind of let this kind of cool edge to it that made it look really metallic. And also, then I added just more touch-ups, merges into a blur that kind of, as you can see, merges into itself. Same thing here. The main yellow line that just goes through here, and then it goes out and connects into two of these. And that blur is kind of overlaid onto here. And what it does is make this kind of really cool glowing and makes it a little bit more harsher, but I kind of like it because it just kind of fits in if it was up, like remastered in a weird way, and it would always get like a little bit kind of vibrant, which I thought worked well. And then that's me adding the buttons, which is just a simple ellipse with a little bit of blur and a color, and then arrayed using a duplicate node. Then I add those all together, add that in a merge, make a shadow, drop shadow, just using that, and then have that into one singular merge, in which I can now use and go over the actual animation. Now, one thing with the animation is it's actually really cool. I used a small amount of frames, roughly 9 to 10 frames, around that, and basically just animated it quickly, zooming across. That is just using a rectangle mask that just is slightly faded and then just goes over here, masking one end from being this kind of black rectangle, and that's what it is, because as you can see, there's a blackout background that actively covers this part, covers the part that it needs to, and then that is then shown. So what's happening here is that the rectangle is masking out, and it is inverted. So if it was inverted the other way, then it would be this way. So that's just how it kind of looks, and it works. It just works. Then you have the actual title effect, which is actually just using style effects. There are really honestly just kind of one. It's just one style effect and a glow. Bit of glow added, and it's green. Just looks nice. And I made it kind of typed out with my starting letters, SK, and then DCV01, which was Dream Creation Video. And that was going to be a bigger project that ended up falling a little bit through, and I'll talk about that in maybe another video one day. But yeah, that was a title for a actual video project that was going to have tons of animation and stuff, but I was not able to. But overall, in the end, wanted to go over this before I really started working on another project, and all that this does is just change the size and placement, which I have reverted for this one, but it actually shrinks it to the corner. This background's just 1080p because this main merge isn't that. It's actually a higher resolution, custom resolution that is just sized for it specifically. And then I just merge it on here and then change the size, which is just a simple, I think, just resize them. No, it's just a transform. And that transform just makes it so it's actively in the right spot. Now here, as you can see, the animation timing is still the exact same, but what I do is put it into a keyframe stretcher, And this, obviously, I'm assuming that you're a relatively more, at least advanced or intermediate user of DaVinci Resolve's Fusion page. This is just basically used for most playback tutorials that you'll see. Just search up DaVinci Resolve Progress Bar Fusion and you'll get to a tutorial that better in-depth explains this, but I pretty much just copied the files and just copied the time and amount of frames and then did that exactly here and then just spaced it out correctly so when it plays the entire video, it just plays it as long as the Fusion track is. So you can just drop this in on videos and it works really well. This is the actual base file that I can drag and drop in, and what I did is just place it into the corner where it would technically be when being played as like the game if there was a kind of remastered looking one, but that's where I placed it. I just placed it up where it traditionally would technically have been, and then I just put that in the media out, and that is just on the showcase scene that I did here for the video. So in any case, this has been Skorsen, and yeah, that was my little kind of small explanation video that I just wanted to cover. So hope you enjoyed, and always remember to keep creating.